Good morning to everyone. I'm Peter Schneider, Sourabh Patodi, and we are here together to present to you what DPR is doing and what DPR is doing specifically in Europe, where we are active for about a year, and we would from that also like to give you some of the points that we may be struggling with and what are the challenges specifically for an American contractor coming over to work in Europe. Okay. Just a short introduction from our side. So I'm an architect. I did a MES at the ETH in Zurich, originally from Brazil, and now living and based out of the Netherlands for DPR for about a year.
Guys, my name is Sourabh. A little bit about me, working as a VDC engineer with DPR for about 4 years, 3.5 years in US, and then moved to Europe, working in the Amsterdam office for 6 months now. My expertise is working with BIM and VDC, usually 3D clash coordination, laser scannings, reality capture, UAV, and all those cool stuffs. So what's DPR? DPR, a little bit about our company. DPR, the 3 letters is our founders, Don, Peter, and Ron. It was founded in 1990, so pretty young company, been 30 years right now. In just 30 years, the annual revenues has crossed $6 billion. And then Advanced Tech, which is very heavy in Europe on our end, data center world, we have a revenue about 1.5 billion. It's a 100% owned company. It's totally privately held. So across the globe, we have 28 offices in US and then 4 international, including Netherlands, South Korea, Singapore, and India. A total, I know what those zeros are over there, but the total number of people in our company is about 6,400. Our core markets, we have 5 core markets: advanced tech, healthcare, higher education, science, life sciences, and commercial. This throughout the global presence, but in Europe, we mostly deal with advanced tech right now. It's a year-old office right now, and then we are pushing towards healthcare and life sciences.
Yeah, so we are known on the market, especially in the US, for being technical builders. So we will not be the ones building houses or building roads. So we just build technically complex structures in the US, and as said also mostly in Europe now. Yeah.
This is our company motto. We believe in we exist to build great things. Construction is a very unique industry. Whatever we build influences life. It's a very physical aspect of a industry that we can see the objects. So building great things is what we believe in that can influence people's life. The 4 core values DPR, which is based on and sees in each of their employees, is integrity, enjoyment, uniqueness, and ever forward. And this is our dream by 2030 that we want to be the most admired company, or to be one of the most admired company by 2030, and we are pretty much going towards it heavily.
So one of the 2 central beliefs that we have are, on the one side, respect the individual, and on the other side, the desire to change the world. And I have to say that when I came to DPR a year ago, so I must say that I really felt this on a very strong way, especially on the side of health and safety. So health and safety on DPR side, and I guess also from the US side, is something that's lived very, very strongly. So when we have internal communications or internal processes going on at the company, many times they're about health and safety, and I never saw that at another company or another large GC I worked for is the way that we care about our colleagues and want to make sure that everybody knows the fundamentals of health and safety and being safe on site. This is really something that impacted me quite strongly when I joined DPR. And also just wrapping up the cultural aspects of DPR is, of course, something that was a reason for me to join DPR, but it's really something that is lived internally. Even though it's a company of more than 6,000 people generating lots of revenue, we are very, very flat on hierarchy. We don't really have titles, although we have, of course, line managers, but you really feel that people are very strong, self-empowered, and have freedom to do things when you have the idea and when you take responsibility for it. And still today, when you go out on a job site in the US, sometimes you will find, not that much often anymore, but one of the founding fathers going to this job site and sweeping if something is not clean, or calling somebody and telling them to get stuff done. So this is really something that impressed me very much, that it's a flat hierarchy. And I think this is also going to fold out into the later discussion on how a company should be structured in order to allow innovation or to empower people to bring in ideas or new technology. I think this really has its roots on how a company is structured.
So talking about DPR Europe now, where we are based from, it's the office location is in Amsterdam. As mentioned, so far in a year we have 7 projects under our belt. About 65 employees over here, and currently our presence is in Germany, in the UK, and the Netherlands. Damian Farr is the Europe Managing Director. Under his leadership, we are thriving at a great speed. And David Ibarra is our International Operations and Advanced Technology business. He oversees all the 4 countries' businesses on the advanced tech market. So it's kind of unique that in DPR there's a way to progress and switch between offices. I was in US for 3.5 years, got to know about this office when it was in foundation phases through Damien, and then I thought, oh, that would be a challenging and a great way to just move to a different continent and see what's going on there and help them. So got an opportunity from Damien, and then I just easily relocated to Europe.
Yeah, so we are actually a startup of 65 people in Europe, if you look at it. And that's the countries where we are active in. Right now we have construction going on in London, close to London, Netherlands, and Frankfurt. And since we're a startup, just 65 people, we don't really have offices, so we work in inside cabins. So when we go to visit our projects, that's where we work. Also us as the technology guys, we're usually just on site, just on construction site. And these are the core markets that we work in, and right now very heavily involved on advanced tech, which means data centers. So there are many data center clients from the US who are coming over to Europe. This is related to, firstly, the data centers that are not very spread in Europe yet, but still there's a very, very high demand, and also due to GDPR regulations, which the data center providers are very fond of. And they're building heavily in Europe. So that's the main reason why DPR came over, because DPR works a lot with existing clients, and usually we get our contracts from existing clients and not from hard bids on the market, right? So right now, I know it's just a few projects, but from these few projects, all of them are completely based on VDC principles. And VDC, we're just not saying we have BIM models in place, but we have a very strong integration with our lean scheduling experts. We have a strong integration into our existing processes, and we are really trying to take this opportunity of still being small and try to implement, a collaborational approach to projects. So one day that we hopefully grow, of course, in Europe, that we can feed from that initial, dynamics that we have in place there. So in the States, we have an innovation team going on. So basically what that is that if you have an idea and you want to get funding for that idea, you can like hand in a business plan to this unit, which will be evaluated, and eventually, if it gets agreed on, you get like internal funding. Because many times, if you want to try something new on your project, it will be very difficult to get the funding from your project manager, of course, because the project managers have to look at the budget and the schedule, and usually you won't have like a $100,000 lying around to be spent. So we have like this internal like innovation hub where you can get funding from. And these are just, these are like the main focus areas that we have been working on. Of course, we're not working on all of them heavily. I would say like the main area that DPR has been investing in the last 3 years is, let me just find it, modular and prefabrication. So we see as a big GC the big importance to have a vertical integration and have own companies providing certain scopes for our projects. So what we have done so far is like fund into prefabrication, especially in drywall and prefabricated modules like bathrooms, for example. And so we invested in them internally and we spin out companies from that. So this is the one kind of investment we do, and maybe we just jump to the next slide. So on the left side, you will see the companies that we created out of DPR, and on the right side, you will see like the other universum of investment and venturing. That's where DPR has investments going on. So on the right side are software and service providing companies that DPR has stakes in as a venture capitalist, and on the left side are our companies where we try to have a vertical integration and try to have a better, better integrated value chain in our company. Yeah.
So, from the BIM side, what's going on in the DPR Construction Europe? So these are like 8 points we have mentioned, like on the BIM or VDC side, if I say, we have incorporated in our business. MEP Coordination, 4D scheduling, 5D cost estimation, reality capture through laser scanning and drones or UAVs in a scientific way, artificial intelligence in scheduling, technology for facility managers, and technology on field. We're not like defining, everybody knows all those steps, what are those factors are and what are those processes are. But like, since the topic is digital transformation, what we are doing digitally transforming our business at DPR is to cutting the tedious processes and making it efficient in a way to save time and cost for our projects on the operations side. So in the 3D MEP coordination, we use a plugin called BIMtrack. I don't know if anybody has heard about it. It's like similar to Revitsto. So this is our it's an issue management tracker. So we don't do the traditional way to report out into Excel and give it to our subs or clients. This is like an online platform. Anybody can go and collaborate and see the issues. So it's much easier. We can just print out put the issues over there in Navisworks, and then architects, clients, whole operation team, subcontractors can come. We can assign the issues to them, and then they would know that what issues are assigned to them, and they have to take action on it.
Yeah, just sorry.
Yeah.
So just to make something clear. So of course, I mean, 3D coordination is a very, very standard use case, right? And of course, many companies already do that. In our case, what we do, we get all of our 3D models from our contractors on site. So it's not the designers that provide detailed design or construction documents for us, but we take that scope onto our contractors, And of course, many contractors will not be able to provide that kind of service yet. And in reality, it happens often that when they cannot provide that to us, we have to model it ourselves. So we have like an own company in India with 250 people, which is MEP Construct on top right. And often we will have to do that, what we call, so it's a scope gap modeling, that we have our own company modeling complete scopes so we can get the coordination forward.
The next slide, another differentiator in our company is the 4D visual planning and proposal modeling. So let me show a video real quick.
It's technology, no?
So it's a video, basically, when we go for a proposal, we model through the design documents in order to talk with the clients that this is how we're gonna attack on the project, these are strategies. So if you can see from site logistics to the subcontractor trailers, accessways, DPR trailer, how the building pad would come, how we're gonna divide the building into. This is all about 4D visual planning, and that's how we target our project. Just giving a clear picture to the client and having their confidence in our system, in our processes, that this is gonna be built the building. Since we are running out of time, I'll pause this.
Yep.
But I hope we were able to give you an idea about our processes. Third item is the quantity takeoff. So over here, now we are in a transformation phase of reducing or doing less and less 2D estimates using softwares like Winest and all, and jumping to make use of Assemble. If you guys have heard about it, acquired by Autodesk this year in the beginning. So make use of 3D models and do 5D cost estimation. It's very intuitive software, Assemble, and very, very easy to use. So that's how we are transforming our business digitally because it's very time efficient and then also reduces the cost.
And also just one last item. So it's something we are working on. It's not been easy trying to give the client opportunity to use his data also for operations and maintenance. I know that's a subject that has been around for years and years, and there are not many practical examples on how to do that the best. So what we have is just a tool where the client can enter search words, for example, a room name, and in that search, and he will have a 3D model, which is just nice to have. He can, inside that room, check what assets are inside that room and click on them and just access the 2D documents attached to those assets, right? So this is just a nice, easy tool we're trying to get out to the client so he can have easier access to his handover documents instead of going back to the computer and going into the Windows Explorer. So this is something we are trying to put in place there. And it's honestly not out yet in Europe, but we're working on it. Yeah.
So to add on a little bit, ViewOps is also acquired by DPR as a W&D venture, we construct. So this is one of our 4 companies, which we provide clients in the end to have their facility managers make their life easy, because a model is there, they can click an object, and then everything related to like a door, the or like say for generator, operations and maintenance manual will come up. Anything related to, any information related to that generator will come up just by a single click. Okay. So there's another video related to reality capture.
Yeah, so this is another video where we just put together some stuff we're working on, you know, drones and modeling and laser scanning and all this kind of stuff. And also to give you a short perspective, in case you don't know it, how a data center looks like. So it's actually a pretty ugly and boring building. It's just a big, cold and very clean hall. So this one is in the north of Netherlands. It's really, really up in the north, in the middle of nowhere. It's 18,000 square meters and 10,000 square meters of data halls, and a 20 megawatt facility. So it's a pretty big data center. If you look at the big data centers out there from Google and Amazon, the biggest will have around 40 or 60 megawatts, which are easily energy consumption rates that you can feed a not so small city with that. It's really an intense use of energy we have there in place. And of course, something we do as well as possible is trying to engage early in design stages so we can run some optimization on that for the later construction. And we are working on that. Right. Yeah.
So the way we incorporate reality capture in our business is, you can do reality capture using laser scans and drones. If you guys are aware about it. So this building in the video, you saw an external recording of a drone where you can make use of the point cloud captured by the drone and internally laser scan. So when we create a building, an existing building, we make use of drones and laser scan for the exterior and interior respectively, and then that's how we have our, we construct as an in-house venture again, who can make use of those point clouds from drones and laser scan and make a 3D building out of it, which we can provide to architects and owners in the design phase, since they don't have like 20, 30 years old building, that design documents are usually not available and clear.
Okay, so just getting to the end of the presentation and putting out some challenges and maybe some discussion points for later. So what we're struggling with, of course, is trade partners or subcontractors that may not be so engaged into technology, and this has been a challenge. Another challenge, of course, is that we have projects everywhere in Europe, and each country is a different country, of course, which also applies to their rules and regulations. We often have discussions around fire safety, for example, on the Frankfurt project. We have problems when we participate in bids, for example, on the German market, bids where the client expects us to hand in the price based on the certain kind of coding that maybe our UK or US colleagues are not used to. That's quite difficult. It has been also challenging to have like a real benefit of technology for our colleagues on site. I mean, the worst thing you can do on site is just come up with a VR goggle and a drone and tell everybody everything is going to be fine from now on. And this is something that you can just lose your reputation forever as a technology support. So we really try to be there and work on the projects and work billable hours on the project, support the coordination, make sure that the models are correct, make sure that what has been built is as what has been modeled, so you win acceptance by the colleagues, of course. And the data center market has also been very challenging because we are confronted with companies from everywhere. So we have contractors from UK, from Ireland, we have contractors from Germany, we have clients from the States, clients from China, and they all have different expectations and requirements on how to proceed with these projects, and we try to be as flexible as possible on that. Trade partners, going a bit deeper into that. So the question that we pose ourselves when we grow further in the future is the question of either verticalize, meaning that we get our own companies to provide us and supply us on site, or if we go for a more open system where we can use, let's say, standardized products from the market and integrate this into our projects. I'm not going into all these points, but this is kind of a question that we're posing ourselves now. On the one hand, you would have a rather large investment in acquiring your own companies. That, of course, gives you some advantages, but that you also have to maintain. You have fixed costs associated to that. Of course, you would try to make that as automated as possible, these systems integrated into your data exchange. And on the other side, if you want to integrate on a more open platform, you also have to work on open systems, meaning open data exchange file formats which are normed. So which kind of norm or format or standard would you go for in order to use that as good as possible? So this is a rather large discussion that we have internally going on at the moment.
So what are our next steps? We are an year-old company over here. Having support from US, since the company is over there for 30 years right now, it's a plus point, but as Peter mentioned, some of the challenges being in the European market does apply, which we have to overcome internally. So some of the next steps which we thought we can excel or have a little bit of implementation affecting our businesses, which so that we can progress here at much faster rate. We think we would excel and we would be successful in just next 5 years. Talk about digital transformation. If we can train all of our project teams, PEs, MEP coordinators, superintendents, PMs, make use of the technology which we have in-house. Right now, since we are too young, the need comes from the operations team. If they feel if they have knowledge about a technology how to use a drone, if they know it, they would feel comfortable. And I think everybody faces that challenge that if a person doesn't have a knowledge, they would not ask the VDC team that can we use this. So if we can provide a little bit of education on the topics which can be productive for them, they would come to us that we want to implement this in our project. So can you help us? So that's what we aim for, that the need come from the project team rather than we imposing them. The second point, as mentioned, use of data in the pre-construction phase with the goal of integration until operations and maintenance phase. So as we mentioned about Assemble being incorporated or is in early stages in our pre-con department to make use of the 3D model and make that data transfer right from the design phase, having architects and design team involved initially, and then if a model is incorrect, can you change this in order for us to estimate a real value of the project in our proposing phase, so that we can give it to our subcontractors or review their bids to what they submit to us. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah. So this is the challenges and the next steps. So I think this was very important what Sourabh said, that we want our project teams to own that technology and know how to use it. Because I think we said it before, it's no use that you have technology guys doing the stuff for your teams and they don't know how it really works. So you have to break it down to a level that they don't have to be let's name it by the tech geeks. So it's no sense they being tech geeks and not doing what they have to do, for example, as a project engineer or superintendent, and always needing us. So I think that's very important. Yeah, so nothing else to add to that.
And that wraps up DPR. Thank you.